Hello, world. This is your girl, Marky Lemons-Ryhal, real estate keynote speaker and Facebook Live host. And sometimes in life, you're a mentor, sometimes you're a mentee. But what I've come to realize is that I love my mentors. And there's some people who think that maybe I've mentored them, but then they actually come back and they mentor me. So Chicago's a very small world, and I'm kind of elated to have somebody who is from the Chicago area, but not only from the Chicago area, from the Chicago South Side, who essentially I've seen grow up. Like I've known her for quite some time. I'm gonna laugh because I'm gonna go back to these BPOs, right? Back in the day when the real estate market crashed. But not only did I see her grow up, I saw her get married. I saw her become a mother. I saw her become a true entrepreneur. So I am elated today to have Danielle Pierce on, my homegirl from Chicago, who is kicking butt. What's going on, Danielle?
Hey, Marky, I'm so glad to be here. I actually, when I saw your email coming through, you were like, "Can I interview for you for the podcast?" I was like, "Really?"
Well, you know what? I reached out. It kind of how things work full circle. I had a gentleman on. His name was Chris Davis. Chris Davis put me down with a group on Facebook because I was looking for more entrepreneurs of color who have strong social selling skills. Inside of the group, I see an advertisement for Freddie. And Freddie Taylor is the reason that I even use Facebook, that I even use video. So I'm inboxing Freddie, and I'm like, Freddie, I see a lot of people in this group. And I'm like, I gotta help some people out here, right? And he was like, well, Marky, did you think about Danielle? I said, I did think about her because I'm seeing a lot more of you in connection with Dr. Watkins. I said, oh, that's a no-brainer. Let me inbox her. And so definitely the work that you're doing, I'm seeing it, I'm noticing it. I know that you have a lot of products and services, but there are a lot of people who still need to cut them shackles, right? Like they still got a job and they don't know what to do. And I know that you help people make money in little to no time. But before we get into making money, what are the first 5 things? Because I know you got at least 5 things that a person should do if they are looking to leave their full-time employment and become a social selling entrepreneur?
Ooh, all right, how much time we got, Marky?
I know. It's a lot. And guess what? I actually got a report from you, and you posted it in a group and you wanted feedback. So I ended up going and because I never really thought a lot about business credit. So I ended up going, I got my little Staples credit card, and I think my Duns and Bradstreet. It was some things in your report that I had not done that I actually went and implemented because a couple of years ago, you wanted some input on a list that you were providing. So yeah, from that list, give me 5 things.
I would say, so the first thing I would say would be you need to specialize. You have to pick your area. And it's becoming more and more clear to me, like the longer I get to do this, the longer I get to be a fully self-employed person, the more I realize that you have to niche down and specialize. We have it bad, especially in the minority community, where we want to be a jack of all trades. Everybody wants to do everything. And like, man, I'm gonna open this shop and I'm gonna sell hair and I'm gonna do nails and I'm gonna, do travel and all these different things. And what I find every single time is that you end up making a little bit of money and across a lot of different areas, and you never get to where you're trying to go. And people continue to promote, they're like, oh, well, it's okay to diversify. That's really not the name of the game, though. Diversification is not the key to success. And then I'm reading this book now. The book is actually called Focus. It's an older book written years ago. And the author goes through case study after case study after case study of these corporations who merged together, trying to be all things to all people, and ended up losing their market share across the board. So I read the book. I was like, wow, how timely is this? So specialize, like pick your area, pick where you're strong at. We all have something that we are outstanding at, that everybody comes to us for, and it's effortless to us. So pick that thing, or find out what that thing is, and do that. And that leads me into my next point, which is spend some time with yourself. I find that I speak to a lot of people they still have a 9-to-5, and they're like, I hate my job. I want to quit it. I want to be an entrepreneur like you. I'm like, well, I don't know if you want to do that, because these first 6 years, most people can't, would have caved during that time frame. The first six, it took me 5 years to even make what I was making when I left corporate. 6 years to get to the quote unquote magical 6-figure land, which was overrated. I wish somebody had told me that years ago. And then after that, of course, it's been, I've been successful, but the first 6 years were difficult. But a lot of us want to quit our jobs, and we don't even know what we want to do after we quit our job, because we're so used to having somebody tell us what to do, when to do, and how to do it. So if you leave your job right now, if you quit your job today, what are you going to focus on? So spend some time with yourself and figure out, what did you even like to do before this job? Who were you before you got, became this, corporate employee or had this 9-to-5 job? And then I would say, build your team. So who are you surrounding yourself with? What does your inner circle look like? Of course, it's cliche. Everybody says you be around 7 broke people, you're going to be the 8th broke person. And we've all heard that, but it is so true. If you are the smartest person in your circle, you're destined to fail.
Woo! Preach, girl, preach. Woo!
Smarter than you. And the mindset of an entrepreneur is leagues apart from somebody who has a 9-to-5. Like, we think, like, I look at social media, I'm paying attention to ads. I'm paying attention to entrepreneurs. I'm paying attention to what funnels they're using, what products they're using. If I'm watching Marky, what tool is Marky using this week? Because I know she got some new stuff that she's using. Because every month at least, there's something different. So I have to keep up. What is she utilizing? How is she doing these live streams? How is she broadcasting in multiple places? Let me see what she's doing. So you have to pay attention to that. And if all you're surrounded by are people work 9 to 5, get paid Friday, broke again Monday, struggling to make ends meet, or they're just talking about their job and how much they hate it, you'll be stuck there. You need to find people who are out doing what you want to do, plain and simple. And then consistency. My friends, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur until it's time to do entrepreneur things. You have to be consistent in what you're doing. I can't tell you how many people I see on social media selling products. Their pages are marked private. They're on Instagram with private pages. They're making posts promoting an option or an opportunity or a grand opening, and you can't share it. So I want to share what you're doing, but you won't allow me to do it. And that comes from a place of fear. How is that you have a business, but you want to tell people about it, but just a little bit? Like, I want to tell you a little bit what I'm doing, but not too much. And then we call it by different things. We say things like, make your moves in silence. Don't tell people what you up to, because they're going to be following you. No. That's just fear talk. You need to call it what it is. You're scared to let people know what you do. And the last thing I would say is, social selling is what we're talking about today, but really, you got to look at yourself as solving problems. Like, I don't sell anything. I just solve problems. You have a specific set of problems. Let me be clear. I don't solve every problem. I'm not a life coach, but a specific set of problems is what I solve. So you have to look at it as you're solving problems. People need what you have. And if you look at it that way, you can start to alleviate a lot of the fear that you feel around putting yourself out there. And then I got another point too, inner work. So a lot of times being an entrepreneur will expose all the insecurities, the fears, the doubts, all the things that you really think about yourself. They come to the light. Like, all the cracks in your foundation are exposed. And once that happens, it can be scary. And that's why some people, you'll see they're very timid. They're very shy. They're very fearful. You have to do that work internally before you start to promote yourself out into the greater world. Because the world, can eat you up if you're not ready for it. So that's what I got for my points.
Now I'm gonna tell you, these are 6 bomb points, right? And the inner work, a lot of people don't talk about, but I'm gonna go back to the number 1, right? Because of the specialization. And so I know that we both come from the world of real estate, where you think you're supposed to do every freaking thing in real estate.
Yes.
And I woke up one day, as I tell people, my money was funny, my energy was zapped, and I didn't have enough time to date my husband because I was trying to do too many things in the world of real estate. And there's a book by Gary Keller that changed, and I'm going to get this focus book, but it changed my life, called The One Thing.
Yep.
And I tell my favorite quote from that book is be like a postage stamp, stick to one thing until you get there. I cannot stress specialize niche enough to anyone. And I think what saved me and allowed me to transition to being highly niched or laser beam focused are basically my two greatest mentors, my grandfather and my mother. So I was born and raised in the restaurant business. My grandfather came from Mississippi, broke with one pair of shoes, and they had a hole in them. But all he did was Lem's barbecue. And he made all the money he ever thought that he needed and wanted. And people would always come and tell him what he should do. And he was like, look, I do barbecue. This is what I do, and I do it well. My mother had the Yellow Wagon concession stand, 1982, before food trucks were even popular. A lot of people would come and tell my mother what she needed to do. My mother said, I'm in the food truck business because I like to work in the summer and travel in the winter. And so two of my mentors, my mentors since birth, showed me how it is to niche yourself and make all the money you want to make, but also have the highest level of happiness. Mm-hmm. What has happened in your personal journey of being an entrepreneur that allows you to become more actually protective of specializing? So first of all, you had to get there, right? So what happened to make you get there? And now what do you do to protect being special?
So what happened is, of course, I read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of podcasts. I remember when you talked about your grandfather and Lem's barbecue. I remember when you talked about your mom and how she was able to make enough money to last the rest of the year, and how she sent you to, what country did you go to?
Iceland, Reykjavik, Iceland. Yep.
Iceland. I was just like, whoa, you went to Iceland as a child from the south side of Chicago? Like, how unheard of is that? And so, and then people like Freddie, I've watched Freddie or learned from Freddie for so many years. And Freddie is laser focused, and he talked about a lot, and it took me a while to like get what he was saying. And of course I needed money. And so I'm gonna tell you what really happened. This is the shift that happened. I stopped worrying about money. That's what happened. I stopped worrying about my ability to earn money. I stopped worrying about making ends meet. I stopped worrying about not having enough. I literally let that go. But let me tell you when it happened. It actually didn't happen for 100% until last year. So I've been through a divorce. I've been married. So you didn't know, people don't know about that because I haven't talked about it. So I've been married and divorced. I have 3 small children.
Wait, hold on. Because my mouth is wide open. I thought it was a shift, but I wasn't sure because you don't talk about it. So kudos to you, right? Yeah. For not talking about it. So, girl, give me life. Okay, keep going.
Yep. So I went through a divorce, and I stopped worrying about money. I told myself, Danielle, you are smart enough. You have enough knowledge. You have enough talent. You have enough skill. You have everything you need. And you will be okay regardless. I just stopped worrying about everything. That just happened like 2018. So mind you, I've been self-employed since 2007. So it took me 11 years to get to that point. But really the specialization came from failing at doing everything. I showed before to some of my clients and people in my Facebook group, I chart my money by month and by source every year since like 2007. So I pull up 2009 in my Excel spreadsheet. How about I was doing BPOs, flipping used cars, doing loan modifications, doing credit repair. What else was I doing? I did a couple closings, so I did real estate on the side. Mind you, I'm supposed to be a full-time real estate broker, but I did real estate on the side. And there was like literally 7 things that I did in that time frame, and I made $30,000. And I told myself, this is not working. All of these different things that I'm trying to do, it just was not working for me. And then I realized that, they say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. You got to do something different. And so that was really the start of me realizing that, okay, you got to figure out what your specialization is and stay in your lane and stop trying to do what everybody else is doing. Like, you literally have to put on blinders and not try to, be a Marky Lemons, focus on, social media. You have to figure out what it is that you're good at and do that. And so really a lot of what you said, to be honest, and I know it sounds super cheesy, but it has inspired me. And I'll sit back and think to myself, I watch your stories, I read the stories, I watch your Facebook lives, and I'm just like, yeah, Marky got one hell of a story. And you know, you don't talk about it every day, but that one video you did where you were talking about somebody had pulled a gun. No, you were gonna shoot somebody and kill them. And I said, oh wow, yeah, she really does know about that life. And she
I'm
chooses
about
not
that
to.
life now. And you know what? And when we think about specialized, because this people don't talk about this in the specialization of deciding what you're going to do and who you're going to do it for. You also have to change your sphere of influence. You have to change the dynamics of your friendship. You even have to change sometimes the dynamics with your family members. And people don't talk about that, but that is the hardest element of being an entrepreneur, because everyone does not support you in your journey. And this journey is so rough, right? You know, everybody glorifies being an entrepreneur until it's time to put that time in, or it's time to make that sacrifice. This is a human sacrifice because we love what we're doing, we're passionate about it, and it's our mission, right? I mean, this is really a mission and a calling. And I've had to let so many things go, whether it's habits, whether it's people, whether it's circles, whether it's corners, you know what I'm saying? I had to let them go because I was born and raised in Inglewood. And I tell people I can go stand on any corner with the best of them because I've been good to people, whether they are CEOs of Fortune 500 companies or they're CEOs of the local street narcotics. I have friends from every walk of life. I have a friend serving life in prison, in every prison in the state of Illinois, for murdering someone. And that's not something that I talk about, but these are people who I was born and raised with, who I love them. Like they might have saved me from a butt whooping, or they shared their Garrett's popcorn, or they went to Church's Chicken and bought a wing back for me. You know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
People don't think of it like that. So when we think about this specialization, it's always about consistently becoming more focused on the goal. And sometimes it doesn't mean that you lose your cool points. Like, I don't think that I've lost my street credibility. I walked into a store last week and a friend of mine was there. He said, girl,
Wait, where was the store at?
I went to Leaders. I went to Leaders T-shirt, but Leaders also has a place on 51st Street. So they also own Fry Style. So I'll go to 51st Street the same way I'll roll downtown on them on Madison. So I roll into the shop, and it's Paul. Paul is there, and Paul said, Marky, I see how you interact when you're not in the neighborhood. But as soon as you hit the neighborhood, you walk in the store and you like, what's crack-a-lacking today? What we gonna get popping? And I was like, he was like, the way you turn it on and you turn it off. So people need to kind of understand that we're human. And I don't think we forget where we came from. But in order to have the business that we desire, not only do we become specialized, we also have to specialize our lives. It's not just our business that is specialized, it's also how we dress. You know, it's certain things I am not going to wear ever again in life. It's not, well, first of all, I don't want to attract that type of attention.
Right.
Right. So you changed, you just made a total lifestyle, right? So you're newly divorced, you have 3 children, but your business, right, has become even more laser beam focused. And I've seen your changes in the past 12 to 18 months.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to go there with this. So let me ask you this. So I understand you basically said enough is enough, and you made a decision that you wasn't going to worry about money. What did you put into place to shore up the business? So I'm not going to worry about money, but I know you got to do some shoring up. So what have you shored up on in the past 18 months in order to ensure a sustainable business?
What I have shored up on is realizing that no man or woman is an island and that you do need help. Like a lot of us, a lot of sisters, we have it bad and want to, I got this, I don't need no help, I'm strong, I'm independent. And I didn't think I believed that, but I look at my life and my actions and I must have believed that, because it's so difficult for me to reach out, for me to ask for help. It's so difficult for me to collaborate and network with people, like not past the superficial level. I I just haven't really done it. And so I made a conscious decision. And again, I think this came from something you posted about going into people's DMs. And this is what happened. I started DMing people and I would just say, like, hey, I have some information I want to share with you, or hey, I think this will benefit your audience, or hey, we should work on this together. And it worked. And I was just like, holy crap. It really just, it led me into new, larger platforms, new level. That's how I ended up working with Dr. Boyce. I inboxed him and was like, you know what? You need to know about this that I'm doing. And he ignored me 5 times. That 6th time, he was like, let's talk. And that's all it took. That's literally what happened. And so I did that. And I started making a conscious decision to reach out, talk to people, ask for help, and to collaborate. And it was, again, I didn't think I believed that I was that type of person, but I look at my life, I must have thought that, it was bad to ask for help, or it's weak to ask for help, or it's weak to work with other people. And you can't get to the money that I want to make and the life that I want to have. I can't get there by myself. Like, I just can't do it. And I had to realize that was the shift for me. I just started opening up more. And that's just, it's hard for sisters to open up.
Well, first of all, we're quick. I'll be honest. My husband tells me, he doesn't tell me as much now as he told me 13 years ago, but he used to always tell me, you know what, you can go put that cape up, right? And I'm serious. I had a cape. I mean, and I would swing that cape because I was Superwoman, Wonder Woman, Batwoman. I'm every woman. I can do it all by myself because that's what I had been accustomed to doing. And he would tell me, like, at first it was every week thing. Yeah, your cape, go put it in the closet. Now, on an occasion, a rare occasion, he'll mention something about the cape. And that's because he's done a excellent job of making me feel comfortable in this house space, right? And he told me one time, he was so ticked, he was like, look, you can let your business go because I can afford to take care of you. And I told him, no, you can't afford to take care of me. And he said, you don't have any bills. What is there to afford? And I had to think, like, I don't have any bills. Everything I do is to make everything else better. He was like, but this foundation here, I got this covered. And so I changed how I treated him, but then I realized I don't know it all. And I pride myself on surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me. I want to be the dummy in the room because you're going to leave that room high. You're going to be hot because you got all these nuggets. Like, you really want to pull your notepad out at the dinner table, right? And you want to start, say that again and write down notes, but you you're visually remembering it. And there's times that I'll leave an event and I am in my car with a pen and paper because I need to remember that website and who did they say I should connect with and what did they say that I should do. And that's because I acknowledge the fact that even though I'm never going to put myself down, I think that I'm bright, smart, and intelligent and articulate, but there's certain things that we're not exposed to. And I can say this as being born and raised on the South Side, and I don't know if your situation is similar to mine, but I am the child of teenage parents who both went on to suffer from drug addictions. So my mother had the wherewithal, and this is one thing that looking at her behavior, my mother knew she did not know as an unwed teen parent. So every element of my life, she asked someone, what school should I send Marky to? Is this Iceland? Is this AFC thing real? And can I let my baby go to Reykjavik, Iceland? All of those were opportunities that she sought out because she knew she didn't know. And I remember her asking the questions. And it took me until maybe 5 years ago to realize how open my mother was to the fact that she didn't know. But what she did know was that she wanted the best for me. And that's when I started asking.
Yeah. So 5 years ago is when you started asking.
5 years ago is when I started asking. And I've gotten better at asking as time goes on.
Wow.
But I had to acknowledge, one, I don't know everything, even though we're highly educated folks. We know, I knew what my friends on 59th and State knew.
Which is very valuable information in certain settings.
Let me say this. My street credibility and common sense and discernment is up there, right? And those are things you cannot buy. You know what I'm saying? So you can go buy you an education. You can buy you a degree. They sell them all night and day online. But discernment and street sense? No, you got to live and experience that. So I would not trade being born and raised on 59th and State Street for nothing in the world, because I honestly believe now that is what separates me from everyone
It
else.
is.
Because I got that. So you're not getting ready to come and run a muckety muck on me. You know what I'm saying? I have that. So asking for help when you start. So so I know that you're working with Dr. Watkins, right? So
Yeah.
you didn't go ask no muckety muck, right? You went you went straight to the top, right? What was the one thing that you knew that here's the thing, you identified, you looked and researched him, I'm sure of this,
Yep.
and you identified that there was either a hole or something he wasn't providing that he should provide.
Mhm.
What got you in the door?
I am a tax lien investor, so I know how to go to the auction and buy properties at the there are some auctions they start at $500, and then there's auctions all around the country. So I went to my very first one and just had my mind blown with the whole experience, because of course I heard about it years ago in real estate, but I made the mistake of thinking that because I didn't know how to do something that everybody else didn't know how to do it. I was like, oh, this is a scam. This is some BS. They don't know what they're doing. And I dismissed it entirely, like for 10 years. And so I went, life-changing experience, bought some properties, and I said, Dr. Boyce, I said, your audience needs to know how to buy properties at these tax lien auctions, because a lot of us, I shouldn't say a lot of us, too many of us are not able to qualify the traditional way to buy properties. And a lot of us want to get into tax lien buying and we don't know where to start. So you need to let me tell them how to do it. And that was really that was the inbox that I sent them.
Wow. And did you send him the same message time and time again?
I switched it up. Yeah, I
Switch it up.
switched
And
it up.
I happen to know you're going. So now, not only have you worked with Dr. Watkins, you're also at the Joseph's Business School, right?
I
Teaching the
am.
tax lien course.
That was from another collaboration. That was another
Wow.
collaboration. Yep.
So in case I forget, I want to hire you and your tax liens, because my son who's graduating from college, I
Uh-huh.
want to invest with him in investing in tax liens. And I'll be clear, I don't know bupkis about it, but I know that
Okay.
that's what you specialize in.
Yep.
So I want to hire you or take your class or whatever product or service it is that you
Yep.
have, because I'm clear that that's going to be another strategy. And I've seen that it's something that you've honed in on, because I remember the BPOs, and you were
Yep.
doing, how many BPOs were you doing?
I have done a few thousand BPOs. I did enough BPOs to make $75,000 in 1 year at $50 a pop. And I was
Oh Lord.
pregnant. I had 3 kids in 4 years, and it was it was that was my it saved me during that time frame, to be honest, because I couldn't, it was, Chicago cold, and so I couldn't be out, with small children. I was literally 3 kids in 4 years. I was pregnant, and I had the heavy car seat, and it just wasn't working for me. And then I nursed for 5 years straight, and so I said I need to be at home, and then I started doing them, and then I just didn't stop until I got burned out. Now, if I see a BPO now, Marky, I honestly I just like I get anxiety. I'm like, oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. But for about a good 2 year stretch, that's all I did, and that's how I made it.
And let me say this, and that's great, because you did have 3 children. You breastfed 3 children for 5 years, so I'm sure they don't do. Your kids don't get sick a lot, do they?
They don't.
Yeah, exactly. And so now you're able to actually work and not have to take days off to get a child back to health. And the only reason I know that, because I breastfed both of my children. I tell everybody the same saving grace is these kids do not get sick. Like
Yep.
anything could go down. They both had chicken pox. But when I tell you the mildest case of chicken pox one could
They
ever get,
recover like that.
yeah, they was around this house wearing me out because they weren't sick. They just had bumps, right? And I'm like, sit your little butt down. Now, what you said spend time with yourself and inner work.
Mm-hmm.
What does that look like?
So for me, one of the things that I've struggled with, and I saw you mention Landmark before too.
Yes.
And I had been to Landmark before you had mentioned it. But I realized the more I pay attention, the people who I admire and who are at levels that I want to aspire to, they do things like go to Landmark, like to the Landmark Forum. And so I went there, and the one takeaway that I had from that Landmark Forum, was that I have to retire from being the master of the universe. So I've spent my life under the false impression that I was helping people, that I was giving, give people money, give people unsolicited advice. I was the go-to person. And so I've spent my life telling myself that, people are taking advantage of me, or they're using me, or they just want me to do all these different things. But then at Landmark, I realized that there's a big payoff that I'm getting from that. The big payoff is that I get to feel like I'm needed, or I'm necessary, or like they can't function without me. And so you get a little bit addicted to that. And so having that realization was not pretty, was not fun. And I looked at myself and I was like, you know what, Danielle, you are getting a payoff from these situations that you keep finding yourself in. You want people to feel like, or you like the idea of people feeling like they can't survive without you. Not 100%, but some of that you do like. And so I had to retire from being the master of the universe, realize that people will be just fine. And everybody has been. For the most, everybody, people will live their lives and they will survive and they'll keep breathing and finding a way without me. And then it happened. And I was just like, oh, well, that was easy enough. It took a very long time, though. It took from, Marky, my first job was a caddy. I started caddy when I was 13 years old, and I got a scholarship to go to college through the Chick Evans Caddy Scholarship. And that's how I went to U of I, on a caddy scholarship. Not from caddying, but, well, yeah, it was a caddy scholarship. It was a scholarship specific for people who were caddies. So I was a caddy, a B caddy, and then the honor caddy, which is like the cream of the crop. And so that's how I got to U of I. And so it started there. I started this giving money, helping people, doing this, doing it, overextending myself. And so that was a good 20-year stretch of me, doing all these things that I didn't need to do, that I should not have been doing. You end up actually crippling people when you start to help them too much, and they resent you on top of that. They're mad at you because they need you. So you lose all the way around. And it took me, I'm 39 now, so it took me 35, 36 years to come to that realization. So, yeah.
I went through the Landmark form, and I'm glad you brought it up, because a lot of people think of it as being a cult-like experience. And what I will tell you, it's not a cult. Landmark changed my life. I even sent my oldest son through the Landmark form for teens, and I believe that I'm starting to see parts of it come back up now that he's older. So what'll happen is you'll look up, it'll be 2, 3, 5 years later, and something will occur, and it will trigger the change that you have made as a result of Landmark. When you just said what you said, the first thing that came to mind, I do not provide unsolicited, non-paid for advice in which I am not an expert, because I had the same problem that you had, but I've come up with my own saying, because I used to insert myself in everybody's situation. So now it is, if it's unsolicited, not paid for, and I'm not an expert, I don't say anything. Yeah. And my husband will say, you don't have anything to say? Because I am not the paid for expert, and they did not solicit my advice. That has actually helped me, but it's also the elimination of things and not doing the same thing that didn't render the results you wanted in the first place. So Landmark is one of those tools. When I think about inner work, I didn't even know you was going to say Landmark, that I've done. I've also, something that people of color tend not to talk about, I've been to a therapist. Some of the best, I needed to get over some hurdles. And it came with parenting adult age children. And I was still parenting Skylar as if he was a child and not a grown man. And it wasn't that he needed to change. I needed to change. And because I want to have a close you breastfeed your kids, you want to have a close relationship with them. I don't think anybody, I mean, you want to have because that's a task, and people think it's easy. No, it really just is not that easy.
It literally drains you, literally.
Yeah,
literally.
It does. But it's the bonding experience. It's the fact that you understand it's the best thing for the child. You understand the antibodies and all this. So it actually aids them long term. So I'm like, I didn't go through all of this to not have a close relationship with this child. I need to work on it. So I've been to see a therapist. I even went to see a psychiatrist, and he told me that I just needed to go see a grief counselor, and he would not treat me. And I just realized from talking to someone else that I should be elated I did not get treatment, because we don't understand that a major life occurrence does not mean that you need to see a psychiatrist. And I'm learning this as I age. And so the ability to understand that there are programs out there that it's okay to spend. And what, Landmark ain't cheap. What was it, $7.95, $8, whatever it is. Let's say you spend $1,000. You will get so many rewards, and it will unblock things for you that you didn't even know were blocking you.
Yep.
You know, so I love that. And then you said consistency.
Yes.
What does consistency look like?
Consistency is just basic. Consistency is doing what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel about it. So if we're talking about live streaming, I made a post about this a couple weeks ago on Facebook. Facebook Live came out. I had so much to say about it. I was like, oh, that's stupid. Why people on live stream? They need to shut up. They talking too much. And all of that was fear. And it was me being envious of the fact that people had the confidence and the courage to go live, and I did it. That's all it was. And this was like, I forget how, when did Facebook Live come out?
I want to say it's either 4 or 5 years at this point.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I had a whole bunch to say then. So now I'm doing live streaming now. And now I realize that there's a lot that goes into going live. It ain't just turning on the camera, turning on the camera and talking. And so now I've had to struggle with doing it, and I've had to force myself to be consistent. I've had to force myself to learn how to do it. Whereas if I had just not been jealous and envious and petty 5 years ago, I'd be an expert at it by now. So yeah, that was, you have to be consistent. And so we're just talking about live streaming, come up with a schedule, stick to that schedule regardless. It does not get any easier the longer you wait. Nothing gets any easier the longer you wait. You put it off for like 5 years. In 5 years, you're still gonna be at the same level of, I don't know what to do. You just have to do it. And so if we're talking about being an entrepreneur, it's being consistently going to networking events and having a purpose behind it. Like I'm a huge fan of Lamar Tyler with Traffic Sales and Profit, and he's behind Black and Married with Kids. Phenomenal event. But I go there with a specific focus. I'm going to meet 5 people that I'm going to stay connected to, that I'm going to build a relationship with, as opposed to just going and kicking it and saying, hi, we have fun, we, going to dinner and drinking. Let me come up with a plan. Let me meet other people who are doing, and there are some people, Marky, in the mastermind group and that are in that group in general, they're doing 7 figures a year in revenue. They're doing 8 figures a year in revenue. I'm like, this is my crowd. These are people I need to be around, not people who are saying things like, are you sure that's going to work? Are you sure that's a good idea? Why don't you go back and get a job? Things like that. So yeah, being consistent, just do what needs to be done regardless.
Yeah, because it's not going to be easy. I think about Instagram, people who still getting ready to get ready. And when it first started, it was one place to post. And essentially now it's 3 places, right? Because you got stories, you got your feed post, and now you got IGTV. So it definitely is none of these platforms are getting any easier. You know what, Danielle, you've done exactly what I thought you was going to do. You was going to come over here. You was going to drop some nuggets. Now, I know that you have products and services. How will someone connect with you, and how do they get your products, your services, and what are those?
Okay. So basically my two lines of focus, tax lien investing and property preservation, which is just repairing and maintaining foreclosed properties. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing for the last 6 years exclusively. Are those 2 things: tax lien investing 3, preservation for the last 6, and that's what I'll continue to be doing going forward. You can find out more information on my website, DaniellePierce.com. My YouTube channel is pretty phenomenal, if I do say so myself. That's also under my name, Danielle Pierce. And you can follow me on Instagram, which I am on Instagram because of you, Marky, as well.
Go on, girl. So let me say,
it's still a struggle. I'm just like, I'm not quite sure what to do on Instagram, but I'm there and I actually get leads from it. So it's working. So yes, I owe that to you as well. And my Instagram is Danielle Pierce also.
Now on Instagram, are you utilizing Linktree as your link?
No, I stopped doing that because you recommended not to use Linktree. Or no, did you say not to use it? You said set up a Google Doc and put all the links in there.
Oh, okay. or use Google Docs. So I say either use Linktree or use Google Docs. So you're using a Google Doc and taking them to your own landing page.
Yep.
Okay, good. Yep. So either one or the other. Yeah, one or the other. So great. You know what? If you want to do a tax lien course in Chicago at the Frank J. Williams Education Center, yeah, I would love it. I'll make that space available to you at absolutely no cost. So if you want to do something tax lien on the south side of Chicago, I would love to host that event for you because I want more people on the south side of Chicago to have the education, but more importantly, I want to be the premier place for all things. So you tell us what it is, and you can have the space anytime that you want. It seats about 30 people, and it's a great facility. I want you to come by and check it out. And
Wow.
so Danielle has told you how to connect with her. And look, and I need to buy a ticket to be a warm body in that seat so I can learn about tax lien and buying as well. But I want to be your host location because I want people to have the education on the south side of Chicago. So Danielle, I 100% appreciate you for being here, one, for taking action, but I have seen how you have transformed as an entrepreneur and as a person. And if no one ever tells you, I'm proud of you. I
Thank you.
love it when people take action, and you've done nothing but consistently take action. Thank you for sharing your time and energy today.
Thank you, Marky. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.